Welcome back. Let's now implement this part where we actually get the profile from the backend. Now, this should be fairly simple to do. All we really have to do is to say, as long as we have the data with the ID, we can do another fetch call to our endpoint, except this endpoint now will be the profile endpoint. And this profile endpoint is going to receive the ID of the user that we just got. So that is data.id. In our case, it'll be our sample user A, which is data ID of 1. And once again, we need to give it second parameters that is going to have, I'm just going to copy whatever we had up ahead. It's going to be a GET request. The token is going to be the token that we have already from here. And with the profile GET request, if all goes well, we have to do our response JSON. And then we'll get the actual user. And this user information, as long as our GET endpoint is working, we can do a bit of a check. Let's just say user and user email for now. If that checks out, then just do our load user function, because remember our load user function, where is it? Just receives data from here. So we'll say load user data. And we also want to call the on route change to go home, just like we have in the sign in component. So let's just copy that. We're going to call on route change to go home as well. Now let's save. Go back to our app. Make sure that none of our tokens are there. All right, everything is clear. And I'm going to sign in with a@a.com. Another A, sign in. And I still get undefined. Let's check this out. Well, silly me, this shouldn't be data, this should be user. So let's save that again. Go back. Let's make sure that we remove the tokens. And we get our error here because, well, this isn't a prop on route change, is actually a method, I believe, that we have over here on the app component. So let's just remove the props, hit save. Let's go back again. No session storage. a@a.com. A, sign in. And I still get undefined. If we go back, let's see what we actually get from the user endpoint. So I'm going to console.log. User. Oops, not that. User. Let's save. And all right, so this is the user that we're getting. Oh, and all of a sudden it's working. I might have had to refresh. Okay, so I am getting ID, name, email entries. I am getting this information as I expected it. It's being loaded, as you can see here. Let's just sign out again and make sure that everything is working. I'm going to refresh again because we haven't implemented a sign out function. Our token's still here. So as soon as I refresh, I'm logged in. I'm going to try this one more time. Let's clear this. Sign out. a@a.com so that we get our token. Once we get the token, all right, so there's a bit of a logic error here. As soon as I refresh, I get my user profile. But as soon as I sign in, I don't get my user profile. And that should trigger something, right? Because our app is handling this, which is working nicely. However, we're not handling the sign-in correctly because now the load user endpoint, this data only receives the user ID. And here we can do a little bit of a trick because of how React works. Remember, every time we update state, React re-renders. So in here, we're just sending the data object that has user ID and success and the token. But load user, right now, if we go to load user, has a few different things. And there's many ways that you can do this. You might want to change this load user function. So in here, there's a few ways that you can actually do this. You can already see here that this is getting a little bit long and messy, and we might want to extrapolate it into or extract it into separate functions. But for brevity's sake and just to keep things moving along, I'm going to just use the same get request that we used here to get the user profile. So after we've received the user ID, I'm going to save the auth token. And before I load the user and change the on route change, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to copy and paste this. That allows us to, if I remove the little statements over here, and we don't need to check for the if statement anymore. There you go. We're saving the auth token. And then we're doing a fetch call to get profile. And once we get that back, we are going to then use the username to load user and change the route. Let's save. And we have a bit of an error here because on line 42, token should be data.token. So data.token. All right, let's save here. Go back. And I'm going to open up Developer Tools, Network tab or Application tab. Make sure that we clear our storage. I'm going to refresh, which makes us get into the sign-in route because we don't have a token. Sign in with our good friend A. All right, we have a bit of an error. Bad request. Error getting user. And that's because data.id should be data user ID. Again, this is another great example of why you might want to have a single function between app and sign in that does the same thing, and you can use it both in both ways instead of having these edge cases and errors. Well, let's give that a go. Again, let's delete our token. Refresh, which makes us sign out, and give this another go. All right, we get the token, but this load user is not a function because, oops, this should be props. So a few little adjustments here that we need to make. All right, one last time. This is bound to work, but this is life of a developer, just constantly debugging your code. And look at that. We're logged in with everything. Every time I refresh now, look at that. I'm able to immediately grab my user so I don't have to keep signing in. That's very, very nice. But if I ever remove my token or my token gets expired or revoked and I have to refresh, sorry, boss, you cannot access that information. How cool is that? Let's just go over the code a little bit to make sure we're clear. In app.js on component did mount, we're simply checking for a token. If there is a token, we're just going to ask for the sign-in route to get our ID from our Redis database. Once we have that ID, we have access to request the profile ID. And then we get our user, and we can load our user and change our route to home. In the sign-in case, where we don't have the session, or we don't have the token, in that case, we need to sign in with our email and password, get our token and our ID. We save the auth token, and then finally, we can get the profile that we have. Now, doing all of this was nice, but there's still one issue. One last thing we need to do. That is, wouldn't it be nice if for all these endpoints that we really, really care about, to have what we mentioned before, a middleware that before the request gets into perhaps handle register, handle profile get, handle profile update, we have some sort of a middleware that says you need to require auth. That simply checks for authorization header and the token. If the user has it, then you can go on and proceed and update your profile. Otherwise, just skip that entire process, that entire logic. You're getting kicked out. So in the next video, we're going to finish everything and implement that. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.